Assalamu alaikum. This is the advanced comparative constitutional advocate Gulrez King. Today is the 27th of the July, Saturday, and year 2024. So, last day I was observing the human issues in the Lahore territories. So, when I was basically observing all the elements regarding the fluctuating positions of the humans in the Pakistan, that which are the primary sectors leading the humans into the miserable situations in the public sector, and especially the males groups and the females groups in the territories of the Lahore divisions. So when I was observing all the elements regarding the civil issues of the humans in the Lahore city of the Pakistan, I was totally surprised as usually that in the territories of the Lahore, the situations of the females appears to be very declined, and the females do not have the sufficient ways as to ascertain the proper pecuniary sources, incomes, expenses, solutions, because the 95% of the males, they do not deliberately understand the reciprocity of the incomes and expenses, because they lack the sufficient sources as to abide by the solutions of the daily routines. And when I just studied that in Pakistan, especially in the cities, major cities of the Lahore, the public at default, they do not have the sufficient socio-economic resolutions as to can find behind the restoration of civil rights. They do not have the convenient ways as to reflect themselves during the daytimes, and in the bureaucracy as well as in the departmental hierarchies. The males and the females, they do not have the sufficient ways as to originate the capital sources, because when I found that the public at large, they do not want to work in return of the valuable things. They are not in the position as to derivate the proper solutions in the Pakistan. The young students, they do not have the sufficient ways as to restore positions of the restoration of the observations of the intellectual thoughts or the medical sciences in the departments, several departments, as well as the government organizations. They are not in the position as to understand the fluctuations of the economical disorder in the public sector. They are not in the position as to understand the human tissues failures, because during the hot weather in the city of the Lahore, the public, as to producing a lot of the capitals, they do not have the sufficient ways as to understand the reciprocity of the valuations of the income and expenses for their upcoming generations. They do not have the reserves for the capital interest for their upcoming generations. They're wasting their current earning applied areas of income and expenses, and they expect huge achievements out of the next kin of themselves. So meanwhile, the public at default, they are lacking humanity, morality, and other things. So when we observe the primary observations of the females in the public sector, what we observe ordinarily, that in Pakistan the females do not have the sufficient sources as to get married in time, especially under the puberty. Such females do not have the sufficient ways as to acquire a status of a sui juris in the territories of the major cities of the Pakistan, and a lot of the females are being spoiled at the pointations of the marital discovery inspections, household matrimonial challenges, or online assessment of the marital challenges in the public sector under the civil tranquillities in the divisional benches of the Lahore city. As per my judicial findings so far, the constitutional parameters of the public, that the public in the Pakistan, especially the male dominant society, they just bargain the marital observations. They just have a plea of bargain as to restore the marital obligation under the religious dichotomy, and after that completion of such uh, constructive negating marital ceremonial, they want to resolve the child proper birth valuation, and after that they lack the homogeneous activities of the human. uh, Miserable situations, the humans are dying in the public sector without having the sufficient sources. A lot of the humans are shrinking as to compile the proper mediums of the assessment, as to reconcile the way of bread and butter for their families or siblings or antecedent descendants, etc. And they just want to have the proper way of executions of the lives, but alas they do not have the sufficient resources as to compile proper length of wisdom in the accurate length of control for their upcoming generation before the world. And that's why a lot of the human beings in the public sector, especially in the Middle East and in the Pakistan, major cities are in a reciprocating area of being distracted. They are being manipulated in either of this sector because they do not have the sufficient ways as to originate a capital interest, and they have no retrospective inspections of the rights of the human uh, conjugal marital relationships. They want to live, but they do not have a sufficient ways as to pay the bill off or pay their debt because they do not have the sufficient resources as to originate for their own living, and they just have uh, liabilities along with the responsibilities, but they do not have acceptance to control such liabilities and responsibilities. They do not have the sufficient modes of salaries, assessments, and kinds of working, but they just want to ascertain or accelerate their incomes and expenses throughout their other reciprocating relationships, and they just want to live a life of vagabond approved criminals, individual or the state institutions in the Pakistan. And in this way, the humans are not in the position as to understand that why they are kept lying to each other, and they do not have the sufficient sources as to originate such things. They just incriminate or discriminate the things which they inherit from their inheritance, and they are destructing in nature. They are found in the anti-money laundering activities, involved in the drug reciprocating drug addictions and food addictions and other certain or several types of the addictions. They do not have the sufficient ways as to originate a medium of a proper reconciled, well maintained or concentrated way of life. So in Lahore city. So stay blessed. This is advanced comparative constitutional advocate Gurez King. Take care.